Hello and welcome back to another video from me, FPL Crusader. This week we are doing the Gameweek 35 preview. We're rollicking towards the end of the season. Couple of things to know is there could be a double game week coming up. We don't know that yet, but we will be having deadlines every week for the next 4 weeks. So there's no more breaks. Just think about that as you move forward. But this week's deadline does change compared to last week, so keep an eye out for that one. This week, what are we doing? Well, this week's loaded with transfer traps, captaincy headaches, but I've done a little bit of research, so hopefully we can go through some of the stats, transferred in players, point leaders, and my differentials. Hopefully that can help us move forward towards the end of the season with an eye of increasing our rank or decreasing the rank, whichever way you look at it. Hopefully you can win your mini leagues as well. I'll reveal my team at the end. So these 4 players will feature heavily, but we'll move forward straight away to the most wanted. Who are you bringing in this week for the most wanted is Brian Mbeumo. There's a huge movement for Saka to Mbeumo, and the reasons for that will be revealed later, but 235k, it's not a lot. Don't forget, we've only just had a finish to the game week. Brentford just beaten Forest, increased their chances of European football, and decreased Forest chances of Champions League football, but they can still get there. Josko Vardiel, interestingly enough, 115,000 people have already brought him in. That's pretty. While the numbers aren't huge, they're huge for just after the last game of the week. And also Cunha, 105k. He got 3 returns last week, and he looks pretty good. He's got Manchester City this week. They can let goals in. He can score against them. Also, Wolves let goals in. So you'd expect Vardiol and the likes of Marmoush to have a lot of fun. And Manchester United, they will be heavily rotated. Even Amarim said he will rotate. So expect Mbeumo and specifically Wissa to have a very good week this week. Honorable mention to Marmoush, that 95k. Once again, closer to deadline, I expect these numbers to completely change. So that's who we're bringing in at the moment. Expected assists for the last 6 game weeks. Mbeumo, once again, he's in great form. He's got 25 returns this week, 18 and 7. Palmer should be getting far more assists and goals. So he's a XG, XA underperformer for the last 13 game weeks. That's why the majority of us have gotten rid of him. He hasn't got a goal in 13 game weeks, and I think it's 17 in all comps. So a bit of an avoid there for the last 4 game weeks. You don't even need the hassle. There's also people moving away from Mo Salah, 28 goals, 18 assists. He does want to get the most goal involvements record for a Premier League season, but now that they've won the league, do they need to? I'm not entirely sure. I'll leave that up with you. For me, I'm probably going to keep him there until I see a lot more evidence of him basically not giving a crap. But Mo Salah is probably one of the most professional players in the league, so I would expect him to keep going hard. Bruno's up there as well, as usual. All he needs is someone who can score goals, and if Cunha goes to Manchester United, it won't solve everything, but it will definitely push them in the right direction. Saka, Trent, Iwobi, the legends keep rising to the top. Iwobi will stay there. Odegaard was taken off for their Champions League tie, so that means he will be starting. I would assume that would mean he'll be starting this game week. Maybe not Saka because he played the full 90 or played deep into the game anyway. Bowen, XA, he's also scoring goals. He's got 9 and 10. They'll be in double figures by the end of the season. And Savinho, he's looking red hot. He's just not getting those returns. But if you've got him, you'd have to keep him because there is a potential double game week or definite double game week coming up. We just don't know when it is. At time of recording, I am, quick maths, Luke, 15 hours before deadline recording this. So I've got no idea. No idea when the doubles will happen. There could be 36. There could be 37. Expected FPL points. This is to the end of the season now. We're on the home stretch, so everything for expected should be towards the end of the season. And obviously, Mo Salah is going to be number 1 because he's just got so many points this season. 25 points for the next 4 game weeks. Palmer, expected points are still up there. As I said before, it's purely because he's just not converting, but his XA and XG are still pretty high. And Mbeumo, Marmoush, Bowen, Watkins, Wissa, all up there as well with Isaac, Fernandez, and Kudus chasing. Interesting to see Kudus there as well. So that means if you wanted a West Ham double up, that's considering they're 17th. If you wanted a West Ham double up, that is very interesting if you wanted to go there. That's very rogue and very differential. I probably wouldn't do it. I'll probably be more inclined to go Rodgers-Watkins double up, to be honest. They do have a double game week fixture coming up, and they're both in really good form. And they're fighting for a Champions League or European spot. I think they will get one. Champions League might be a bit rough. It just depends on if Chelsea, they essentially need Chelsea to lose. But yeah, the expected points, if you've got, out of the top 4 or 5, if you've got 3 of them, I think you'll be looking good. The ones I realistically want, I'm probably looking at Wissa. I just think he's an unsung hero. And against United's central defense, he could smash. That being said, I want Watkins as well. So I think Isaac might have to make way for Watkins in a couple of game weeks. Don't forget, I still need to make a stupid bloody transfer for a goalie so I can play my bench boost. So those are in a better position than me. Congratulations. My diamond differentials of the week: Bowen, Trossard, and O'Reilly. Arsenal have, so let's start with Bowen. They've got Tottenham at home. Tottenham should rest players because they're playing the might of Bodo Glint in the second round coming up soon. So they'll probably rotate and rest. 3 goals and assists in the last 3. I reckon that's a green go. Bowen should do very well this week. He's very high on my want list to bring into my team this week. So, and I think he'll finish the year off strong. Trossard, he's got 4 goals and assists in the last 4 game weeks. Will he be rotated? That's the only issue. They got Bournemouth at home. Bournemouth are no pushover. I can just see there being a slight rotation in their top team so they can go to Paris and try and destroy them, which they'll probably struggle with, but that'll be their aim in the semi-final of the Champions League, which means Trossard could potentially be benched or come off the bench late. So that's why it's a bit of an amber prediction for me. I think I'd probably, out of those 2, I prefer Bowen, I'd say. That being said, all these players are playing at home. I can just see Arsenal grinding out a 1 or 2-0 victory. So 50-50 for me. But if you've got him, you definitely play him. O'Reilly, he could be the future of City, or will they sell him like they did Palmer? Who knows what Pep's going to do. 2 goals and assists in the last 3. He'll probably play this week, I'd say. It seems like the type of game he'll play against the 4th worst defense in Wolves. He could have some fun against them, and he's playing well in the midfield as well. So some of those older blokes in the City's midfield might need a rest, and he's the perfect person to jump in there and show them how it's done. Learn from the best and then play your best. Well done, son. Those are the differentials for the week. Let's have a look at captains. Yeah, you can always default to Mo Salah this season. I haven't put him on here specifically because I'm going against him. But if those who have him and want to go with him, then congratulations. I think you do very well. That being said, I've got Brian Mbeumo, Ollie Watkins, and Omar Mamouche. I think Mamouche should do very well. We've got Brentford travelling to United. As I said before, I think United will struggle because they will rotate. So Mbeumo could look very good. Everyone says Mbeumo comes off the right, comes off the left. But you can see in the middle there, that's where he is mostly. I know Wiss has been injured for a lot of the year or halfway through the year, but he is looking up front. Watkins, interestingly enough, he plays a lot on the right. We know he plays up front majority of time, but they've got so many wide attackers and up front attackers. He can play anywhere really. But because Duran's gone and Rashford is now injured for the rest of the season, they got Fulham at home this week. I expect Ollie Watkins to play a lot of good minutes and get a few more returns. He works well with Rodgers. They've got Asensio in there, who's a bit of a genius. They've got Mellon as well, so I think they'll do very well. Mamouche at home to Wolves. He's on the left majority of the time, but he will come into the middle and do some good. I think he'll do pretty good against Wolves. Their defense, as I said, is pants. They need a complete overhaul of their defense in the summer. So I think Mamouche's pace and with De Bruyne's newfound form, they can plug up a really good relationship and get some much-needed returns from Mamouche. He's been a bit quiet over the last couple of weeks. For those of us who have put some faith into him, we need some returns. So hopefully he can get those returns coming up soon. And the Crusaders crosshairs for this week. These are the players I'm focusing on. 4 weeks to go. I'm probably not going to spend any more money on defense. I will do a goalkeeper 1 week, but realistically, it's either midfielders or it's forwards. So they're the only two I'm focusing on. We've got Rogers, we've got Justin Kluivert, and we've also got Matty Bowen. Sorry, Matty Bowen's a footballer over here, Jared Bowen. And if you're bringing them in this week, unless you're on some sort of chip, you're bringing them in for the rest of the season. So let's have a look at their fixtures. Expected points until the end of the season for Rogers is 16 points over the 4 game weeks. I reckon he'll smash that and get well within the 20s. He's got Fulham this week. Then they've potentially got the double of Bournemouth and Tottenham in 36. This is off This is off FPL team with the projections from Planet FPL. Then they finish with Manchester United. Obviously, having the blank in 37 isn't optimal, but they finish with Manchester United in 38, which they should smash. 16 points for Rodgers. As I said, you're probably looking in the 20s there, so I think that should be good. Arsenal away this week for Kluivert, but Evan Nielsen got the red card and he's suspended for a couple of weeks. We saw what happened last time. Kluivert and Dango went absolutely crazy when Evan Nielsen wasn't there, so expect some sort of pickup from their attacking output. He's got some hard matches coming up. They've got Arsenal, Villa, and City. So I could understand if you didn't want to go all the way into Bournemouth. But if the interesting thing is if they get a couple of good results from here, if they get some points. Last week, the last game week of the season, they got Leicester at home. And if they need to win that for European competition, expect a massive score. That 15 points, he could smash that in one particular week, easy. Bowen, West Ham, he's supposed to be 20 points or more. Ipswich on the final day, Forest in 37, Manchester United, which should be points in 36, and Tottenham will be points in 35. So 3 out of the 4 are bright green, I'd say. And the only one that isn't is Forest. And they don't really have a hope there. I might even bench him for that match. I'm not entirely sure because Forest as well will be fighting for Europe. But Jared Bowen, Tottenham, Manchester United, and Ipswich, I think they will look pretty smart. And that 20 points will be a lot higher. I might actually track this and see how it goes. In forwards, we've got Watkins, Wissa, and Cunha. This is the optimal front 3 for me that I wish I had. But I've also got Isaac, Marmoush, and Mateta. So there's almost too many to choose from. Spoke about earlier about Villas, Fulham, Bournemouth, Tottenham, and Manchester United. Expected points of 18 for Ollie Watkins. He's got no competition, so he can really do what he wants. He needs to drive that team home to make sure they get into Europe into a top spot. So I think he'll be on fine form. Wissa should do very good. I've got Bournemouth here. That shouldn't be Bournemouth. Wissa should do very good against Manchester United this week. Then they've got Ipswich, Fulham, and Wolves. Now, Ipswich away should be points for both Mbeumo and Wissa. Fulham at home is still a derby game, so we don't entirely know what's going to happen there. Wolves are in good form, but on a last day, it should be pretty tough. In terms of 18 points, I think he can exceed that as well. I think these points are pretty light on. I think he will exceed that, just personally myself. And we go to Cunha. He's looking pretty happy with himself. He just got 15 points last week for the three fixtures. Forget about that graphic down the bottom. They got City away this week, then they got Brighton at home, Crystal Palace away, and Brentford at home. So City, Brighton, Palace, and Brentford. Not easy, but he does have the skills to get the more than 14 points. That's why it's probably on the lower side compared to everyone else. His points probably should be around 20, but it depends on his discipline. I can see him getting 2 goals and a red card in any of those matches if he loses his head. So if you bring him in, it is a bit of a gamble. For me, the one thing I wanted to call to people's attention is the traps to avoid for this game week and towards the rest of the season. Starting on the left, Saka. He's a rotation issue, specifically if they keep going throughout the Champions League. He's a rotation issue this week, and he could be moving forward as well. Jack Pedro is suspended. He's still owned by 18% of FPL managers out there. That's a decent chunk. I know it's because of his price, and he's probably third deep on the bench for a lot of active managers, but just keep that in mind. If you've got transfers up your sleeve, get rid of this bloke. Another trap this week could be Mo Salah as the captain. Nothing left to play for. He does want to get goals and assists, but the man's motivated by doing stuff for the team. So it's hard to see him motivated by individual goals. Also, Whether this means something or not, I'm not entirely sure. The first time this season, he didn't turn up to, or wasn't the first person to turn up to weight and cardio training. So take from that what you will. Another trap to avoid is assuming Ollie Watkins won't score a lot of goals towards the end of the season. I believe he will. And I think he's in fine form. He's got no competition. He's got a great team around him. He's not on penalties, but Asensio does like to create as well as score. If they start creating for each other, then expect a windfall. And the next trap would be Nottingham Forest defence. They are sliding down that table, unfortunately. They've had the fairy tale run. They can't quite finish it off. I think their defence, I wouldn't say it's vulnerable, but people can definitely get at it. We saw Brentford playing, I wouldn't say amazingly well, but they still got 2 goals and kept a clean sheet as well, which is the most disappointing thing for Forest fans, I would assume. They didn't get any goals, convert any of their chances. Probably the best way to say it. So for me, if you're bringing in defense, I would avoid Forest. Even though they've got Ipswich coming up, it's still an avoid for me. The FPL challenge is still going strong. Well, it's still going. I'm not sure how strong it is. But this week and for the rest of the season, I think they're just picking a random game and saying you can only choose between them. It would be good if they were derby games that we're invested in or were interested to watch. But this week we've got Brighton and Newcastle, which is interesting. I've gone hard on Newcastle just because I want them to win. And I think they're in good form. I need them to get a clean sheet because I've got a defender, midfielder, and a goalkeeper, all from Newcastle. I've brought in Matoma, though. He's the only Brighton player. I think he'll do pretty well. I've brought in Murphy over Barnes because I've gone Barnes on my free hit and Murphy got the most points. Now they're probably going to flip over and Barnes will get a goal this week, but it is what it is. And captain is Isaac. So that's all I'll spend on FPL Challenge. If you're enjoying it, please let me know. If you're not, also please let me know. Here is my team for the week. I've made 2 transfers. I've taken a -4. I brought in Bowen and Mbeumo. Brian Mbeumo is my captain. I took a hit because I saw on Blue Sky earlier in the week that Ismail Sarr and Bukayo Saka were going down in price, and I had both of them. I was looking to get rid of Saka anyway because I thought he could be a rotation risk. So I took a hit and took them both out. So my team is Pope away to Brighton. I'm really hoping he gets a clean sheet, but I'm not entirely sure if he will. Timber, he could be a rotation risk, but I don't have much backup, and I'm not going to bring in another defender. Realistically, after next week, when they get thrashed again by PSG, he'll be number 1, and I'll be able to play him over the next few game weeks anyway. Vardiol at home to Wolves. That should be a good result for him. Munoz at home to Forest. He could get something out of that. Bowen is the new man. He's away to Tottenham. So he's at home to Tottenham. Tottenham travel like expired milk. So I expect him to do pretty well. And Mbeumo at home to Manchester United. Likewise with United, they'll be rotating like Tottenham will be for their European competitions. So I expect Mbeumo to do very, very well. I wouldn't mind betting he gets in double figures. Donyell Mellon, I think he should start this week. So the rotation for me is between Kluivert and Mellon towards the rest of the season. If Mellon gets dropped again, I think I might have to get rid of him next week for someone else. But that's another bridge to cross then because I might also want Ollie Watkins at the same time. But Mellon's at home to Fulham. We do struggle on the break, Fulham. So he and Rashford and Rodgers could pair up pretty well with Asensio being the driving force. So hopefully Mellon does get a start. My vice captain is Salah away to Chelsea. I think Liverpool should win. I don't see Chelsea really doing that good. Even if Liverpool are only playing 50%, their defense is good enough to compete with Chelsea when Cole Palmer isn't playing the best. And we've seen in the past that Cole Palmer does play very, very well throughout a season, but he tends, a little bit like Haaland, can go missing in the big games. Alexander Isaac away to Brighton. This might be a swan song on my team. He's been there for so long, has played so well, but he's looking like a Watkins replacement for me. Marmoush at home to Wolves. I think they're vulnerable. Marmoush should do very well. And Mateta at home to Forest. He should be annoying enough to compete with the Forest defense. Depends what Forest team turns up. 2 games in 4 days for them. Shouldn't be too bad. They haven't had a lot of other footy to play. That being said, they've just come off a frustrating defeat to Brentford, so they'll probably want to play a lot better. So hopefully Crystal Palace do well. That being said, now that Crystal Palace don't really have a lot to play for, will they put as much effort in? I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. That's why part of the reason why I've got rid of Sarr and I've got Mateta there as well. The concern is that Mateta could be rotated to facilitate, not to facilitate, but to be rested for the cup final. But we never know. I don't think it'll be this week against Forest. It'll be in a couple of weeks against a lesser value team. Kluivert, Huijsen away to Arsenal. They're both on the bench. And Murillo away to Palace on the bench as well. You can see I've still got Flappy there. That's a mistake. That's been going on for about 14 game weeks. But that's my team. That's how I line up. The expected points of 50. I reckon I'll get in excess of 65, 70 this week. I expect Vardy, Munoz, and Mbeumo, Bowen, Marmoush, and Mateta all to return for me. So you heard it here first. I'm getting 6 returns this week. Wouldn't that be nice? And then that'll shoot my ranking right up. I had a 300k green arrow this week, so I'm up to 1.2. Still a shocking season, but I need to finish strong. I want to finish inside. I don't know where I want to finish. I just want to keep getting greens for the next 4 weeks, and I hope you do too. Let's not forget, Game Week 35 is an early deadline, so it's 3:30 a.m. here in Australia or 6:30 p.m. in the UK. So it's 3:30 a.m. here in Australia on the 3rd, which is Saturday, and 6:30 p.m. in the UK on the Friday as well. So don't get caught out by that early deadline. Leave me a comment on the socials below or on YouTube about who your captain is. I'm interested to see what the captaincy choices are around the world. It'll be very interesting to see for me, and or which transfers you're bringing in as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. That's my video for this week, my preview for Game Week 35. I hope you all have a good game week and have enjoyed the footy this entire season and also the extended footy this game week as well. Hope your arrows are green. Any differential score hat tricks. My name's Luke, FPL Crusader. Thank you very much.